Okay. If everyone could just mute their mics before we begin. Thank you very much. Okay. So, welcome everyone to this week's masterclass. Today, we are going to be talking about augments that influence position. So, this was a requested topic from the community. So, hopefully, some of you this is going to benefit a good amount of you. And let's get started. Any big questions? Please leave them for the end. If not, then feel free to ask on the spot, and I will happily go over it. So, the topics for today, we're just going to start off with a bit of an intro, as we always do. And then after introducing these positioning augments, we are then going to look at corresponding compositions, so what to play, along with their itemization and positioning. Okay, so first let's talk about these position influencing augments. I left this, I added animation here just for a little bit of a, like, not a quiz, but just to see what people are thinking. So who has any idea of an augment that might influence the positioning of your units on the board? So you take it and then you automatically move your position, or you move your unit's position. Any ideas? Okay, no worries.
Ones where the first two rows get things or the back two rows get things.
Yes.
Such as like weapons or Battlemage or the one where you get AD if you're in the front two rows.
Exactly. You're 100% correct. I left out one of them. So yes, you're right. You got them all. So Knife's Edge, Battlemage, and Scoped Weapons. I left out Exiles. That'll be for a different masterclass, but it's very quick. I could show at the very end if people are actually interested in that, but you got them all right on the dot. So these augments, they provide a boost in stats once your units are in a specific area of the board. So just as you mentioned, Knife's Edge, Battlemage, I'll make this a little bit thicker. This should be better. Knife's Edge, Battlemage, and Scoped Weapons. So Knife's Edge is going to be the first two rows, as I've outlined here. Any units within this area will get that percentage bonus AD. Battlemage, anyone who's in the first two rows, same thing as Knife's Edge, will get AP and armor. And then the last one is Scoped Weapons. So any units in the back two rows here, they'll get 2 attack range, which means that they now have 2 extra hexes worth of range to attack, and they also get 10% attack speed. So pretty good. These are the 3 augments that will influence the positioning of your units, not including Exiles, which we could take a look at after. So as I mentioned, these augments, so basically they're really good when your units don't have to move from their original like standard position, and then B, if they benefit from the new position. So let's look at the first one. So units that don't have to move from their standard position. So let's think of frontline units, right? So units that are already in the front line normally will benefit from this. So we're thinking like duelists or even like frontline tanks. They're already in the front line, they'll benefit from the augments. Or they benefit from the new position. So what this can mean is, let's say melee carries that normally are in the front line, but now they can be in the back two rows. They get extra range to attack more safely, right? So these are the 2 examples I'll talk about. Utilizing the front two rows, they're already in the front melee units, so they get bonus benefit from them, or they're in the back two rows now and they have extra safety. So that is a quick intro into these 3 augments. So Knife's Edge, Battlemage, and Scoped Weapons. Now let's break down each one of these individually. Okay, first one is Knife's Edge. There's 3 types: Knife's Edge 1, 2, and 3. I should be writing that. 1, 2, and 3. Doesn't matter. So, and they each increase in percentage of AD. So I'm pretty sure this one's like either 15 or 20. I think it is 15. And then it goes to 35, and then I think there's like 45 or 50. So this will provide percentage AD for units in the front 2 rows. And this happens right away. So let's say you get Knife's Edge on 2-1. That means right off the bat, you automatically get this like high amount of percentage AD as long as you put your units in the front. So what this means is you have a very strong early game if you get this augment early. So you're normally able to 5 streak, get a lot of money that way, really build up your econ, and go from there. Since you are getting AD from this composition or from this augment, then you are basically guaranteed to play an AD composition. Thank you, Uriel. I see 25, 35. I'll write that here. They've changed it so many times. But these are the final numbers should be. So 25, 35, and 45. As I was mentioning, since you are getting 80, you have to play an 80 composition to benefit from this augment. The second part is you need Last Whisper, and here's why. So you're getting flat, or sorry, not flat. Well, essentially flat. Even though it's percentage 80, you're basically getting like an increase in attack damage. If you also have Last Whisper, then not only do you have this increase of attack damage, but you also shred the armor of the enemies, so then they've synergized very well. So having Last Whisper, you should basically always have Last Whisper if you're playing an 80 composition, but in Knife's Edge it's even better. And the last part here is if you have lockets, then you play Duelists, because Duelists, they'll need a little bit time to ramp up. Knife's Edge benefits them crazy well. They get a ton of extra attack damage. They can start doing some serious damage, but they need these lockets to like stay alive and really ramp up. So that is the intro slide into Knife's Edge. Thank you for the values. I see this patch anyway. Yeah, maybe it'll change. Honestly, Knife's Edge 3 got nerfed hard. I have some time ago. I'm pretty sure this used to be either 55 or 60. And I think it was too OP, because if you got that on 2-1, then you have like 4 units with like 55 extra 80. Yeah, 60. It was crazy. So now it's a bit more balanced, unfortunately. But yeah, so let's look at the top board here. So let's take a look at some Knife's Edge boards. We first talked about like what it is. Now let's talk about it. Always note that, oh, that's not very good. Whenever we're talking about any of these augments, so like the front 2 augments, we'll almost always have all the units that can benefit from being in this position, right? So you see all these units are in the front 2 rows, which means they're all getting that percentage 80. So the first one we'll look at, let's say you can look at this one of 2 ways. Preferably first you have the opportunity to play Duelist, and then you present to Knife's Edge, because then you have like a stable base, and Knife's Edge is just a cherry on top. If you take Knife's Edge first and then you look for Duelist, it's not guaranteed, right? Regardless, Duelist is a comp you can play with Knife's Edge. You need Locket. This is prioritizing it. Prioritizing Lockets. You can see the Locket item holder is Nyla. She's very good. She scales with AP as well, and armor is always good on her. So this is how the positioning should look like. If you have Chain, so Chain's really good in Duelist for 2 reasons. A, Locket, and it kills the Rod. So let's say you have like a Rod, and then you have Chain. Well, there's no other item you can make with Rod apart from Gunblade, and that is good in this comp. So then Chain, Locket, and then you can also make Edge of Night, which is BIS on Zed. But if you have the choice between Locket or Edge of Night, especially early, you prioritize Locket. The way the carry order should go, it should go Kale early, into Vayne mid game, into Zed late game. That is ideal. If you don't have any Zed items, then it's okay to just stick with Vayne carry. And what this means is basically Edge of Night. Edge of Night, if you don't have Edge of Night, you really should not carry Zed, because he's just going to die randomly, and Vayne is much more consistent DPS. Ideally, on level 8, you want to swap to Zed carry, add in Zoe for Hacker, and then a Sejuani. You get 3 Laser Corps with Yasuo, Zed, and Sejuani, and it's very good from there. Zoe adds Hacker, and Zoe's better than LeBlanc because Zoe increases the damage taken by the enemies. So that's the first one here. I see a Yasuo question. I usually try to have him on the end so you can hit the whole row. Is there a reason you put Fiora on the edge? Okay, yes. There in this case, so this is early game, right? So level 6, and the way that Duelist works is basically Duelist is kind of a hit everyone as hard as you can mid game, take your top 4, and then move on type of composition. It's really hard to cap out on Duelist unless you like really high roll, go level 9 and put in legendaries and swap over. So normally this is your level 6 board where you go 3-2, you roll it down for 6 Duelists, and then in this case we're talking about Knife's Edge, right? So that means Vayne is in the near the front line, and Hayden is 100% correct, tanking, right? Because the tankiest unit here is Fiora. Not only does she get buffed this patch, but she is just a pretty good tank in general. Yasuo for CC doesn't tank. We're not putting Nyla on the edge because she's the locker holder. Gangplank is pure damage, and then who's this? Kale. Kale is also pure damage. So we want to put our tankiest member closest to our Vayne, because let's say we swap these two around, right? Kale dies immediately, and then who's up next? Our carry. So that's why we put Fiora on the edge. Yasuo, you could put him on like this edge, but then he's going to be targeted first. So yeah, as Hayden says, all the units on the edge of front line always get hit first. You're 100% right, because if these are the enemy 2 carries, people normally put them in the corner. They'll attack the closest, so these two will be hit first. So yes, you could, to answer your question, Uriel, the short form is he can hit the whole row if you put him on the end, but number one, he'll be targeted first. Number two, this is only in certain scenarios where the enemy has like plenty of melee units that will like stack up to get hit. That's about it actually. So if you can, if you don't think your Yasuo is going to get killed right away before you cast, if you have like a couple lockets or they have a lot of melee units, then you're 100% right. You can put him on the edge and he will hit the whole row. So that's the first one, Knife's Edge. Number two, the one I think is better. This comp is great. I love it so much. Bel'Veth. We love Bel'Veth. It went from one of like the least played units to like S tier, S plus tier. Technically she was always S plus tier. No one realized, but it was the start of the set, so it's whatever. Bel'Veth does not need lockets because you have infinite frontline. You could even add Zax. That's not a Z. You could even add Zax. You can add Fiddlesticks. Urgot can go in here. Urgot, I guess, fine. We add him here. Anything is fine, but you don't need lockets because you already have so much frontline. So when you're really looking at between Knife's Edge, you can play Duelist early, which normally you should because you can't really get Bel'Veth early. And then later in the game, you could decide, okay, do I want to swap over to Zed? Do I have the lockets? Oh, I don't have Zed. I should probably just play Bel'Veth and I don't need lockets. Your best in slot, Last Whisper for sure, plus healing. These two work together and that's kind of all you need. Your last one can be anything else you want. This can be Runon's Hurricane, this can be Infinity Edge, this can be Titans, this can be Giant Slayer. You don't really need Edge of Night, but it's okay. Shiv is no. You don't need Shiv because this is an AD composition, so it doesn't really matter, or it doesn't matter at all if you reduce their magic resist. So that's why Shiv would not be ideal here. If you're playing in an AP lobby, then you want to add an Aegis. So this is like Alistar, Echo, Vi, even Leona. If you're against an AD lobby, then you just want to add more CC. So like Rammus is definitely really good. Or CC plus just tank in general. So like Rammus, Zac, Fiddlesticks is always good regardless. Sejuani along those lines. And then eventually you want to have a duo carry. So you want to put in like Samira Philios in the back line. And that way you have a like redundant system. If your Bel'Veth somehow dies, you still have damage. Yes, so Shiv is not good in this scenario. Even though you hit so often with it, you're doing like maybe 50 magic damage, I think. Like, especially like at this point in Bel'Veth, where you're normally level 7. So if you go level 7, and then you put in an item where you do like 50 magic damage plus magic resist shred, but your entire composition is mainly doing physical damage, it doesn't synergize very well. So try to keep your last item for like Last Whisper, or sorry, you already have Last Whisper, Runon's Hurricane, Infinity Edge, Titans, Giant Slayer. And then, so not only do you keep that bow then instead of Shiv, that bow can go into Last Whisper, or I keep saying Last Whisper. The bow can go into Runon's, or it could go into Giant Slayer, or it can go into Titans. So already 3 amazing options. And that tier can go into Redemption. It could go into Protector's Vow for Sejuani. And yeah. Okay, so these are the Knife's Edge boards. Let's move on to Battlemage. So now we're all experts on Knife's Edge. We're looking to play either Duelist or Bel'Veth, depending on whether or not we have lockets. Let's move on to Battlemage. So Battlemage, what it does, provides AP and armor for units in the front 2 rows. Now, with this augment, you can play either AP or AD composition. The reason why is because in AD compositions, the front line always benefits from armor, and a good amount of melee frontline units in AD compositions actually use AP. For example, Alistar, Vi, I mean, I guess Zac, whatever, Sejuani is still fine. So that's why it's okay to play in AD compositions as well. But it still requires many melee units. Yes, Echo as well, very good. Echo actually scales really well with AP. So definitely look out for that. So a couple comps in here. We have plenty of comps. This is the most like flexible out of these 3 augments. So Duelist, Bel'Veth, Jax, Yuumi, Lulu, Viego. Once again, there's 3 tiers. I don't remember the numbers 100%, but of course they increase as you go from silver to prismatic. Let's first look at one of the main comps. This is not playing 2 Viegos. This is the 2 potential Viego builds you can go. And in Oxforce Viego, you need 3 things, mainly healing, magic resist shred, and ability crit. So in this comp, yes, this is the Shiv comp if you can't have spark. But in this composition, because you're doing magic damage, you want to have magic resist shred. If you're against AP lobby, once again, add Aegis. AD lobby, add CC plus tank. If you have an Oxforce emblem, so this can be from Oxforce Crest, I guess Oxforce Heart is fine too, Oxforce Crown, whatever. You can play 6 Oxforce and then put the emblem on either Belveth, or if there's really good admin, so let's say, I don't know, like Combat Start. Well, I guess that's good. AP scaling, I don't know, AP on death, AP on kill, whatever. Then play LeBlanc, and then you can put the emblem on her, it's fine. In this comp, because there are so many melee frontline units, you don't want to have any solo frontline tank units. So for example, Gargoyle, Bramble, Warmox, Protector's Vow, ideally you don't want. You can use these components for something else. So like Sunfire Cape's a lot better, Redemption's a lot better because these are like AoE items, and then save the cloaks for Ionic Spark. However, if you already have Spark and you have a cloak, then you can try to make Chalice, especially if you have Tear, because Tear is also not that great in here. But essentially, you want to go for either one of these 3 items. Let's take a look at the first combination. This will mostly be the most common one. So Gunblade, it's in this order, right? So like healing, magic resist shred, ability crit. So Gunblade, Ionic Spark, and then Jewel Gauntlet. If you already have some form of magic resist shred on someone else, so let's say like, I don't know, it's Echo's gonna die pretty fast. Okay, maybe like one of these two, Alistar or Cho'Gath, they have Ionic Spark, or you have like a LeBlanc with Shiv, then you don't need to put the Ionic Spark on Viego, freeze up a slot, and you go double crit, right? Go Guardbreaker instead, and you're really going to be one-shotting things. Or let's say you have Jewel Lotus, then you don't need Jewel Gauntlet anymore. Then you'd actually go something along this line, right? And then let's say you have Shiv plus Jewel Lotus, then you don't need either of these. And then this last one can be like, I don't know, anything you want. Maybe like a Hodge or something for like extra, or like Rabadons, right? So you go from there. Yeah, or Titans. Titans actually really good. So in that case, you'd probably go Titans as your 3rd item. So that's Oxforce Viego. Does BT suck now? Yes, it does. BT actually sucks. Sorry, BT or like Bloodthirster. It is not great. Go Gunblade instead. Just because it heals the entire team, or it heals like whoever's like the lowest HP. That's so OP. The fact that it heals like the lowest HP unit, not even just a random unit on your team. So that's really good. And then it also heals yourself. It's just like BT times 2. Yeah. Okay, so that's the first board, Oxforce Viego, very common. Second one is Yuumi reroll. If you really want to sacrifice your soul to play Yuumi and gain LP, then go for it. Go Yuumi. Slow roll on level 6, 3-star your whole board. Here are the items. It's not that complicated. As long as you find the reroll button on your keyboard or on your screen, then you should be able to do this. But realistically, this comp is really good right now, so it's really good. 3-star your whole board and get that Super's value up. On level 7, either add Riven or other threats, and Fiddlesticks Urgot is always good in this composition. If you are contested though, probably don't go Yuumi reroll and play something else from there. Okay. And then we already saw these 2 boards. So Battlemage, you could also use in Belveth or Duelist. The frontline units benefit from AP. Well, everyone benefits from armor, and a good amount of people benefit from AP, like Echo, Sejuani Sure, technically Rammus, shield, healing, bit of damage, healing plus shield, damage, healing, damage, a little bit of damage. So it's still good. Knives Edge is better, of course, in this case, but not bad. Okay, the last one we're going to talk about is scoped weapons. So 2 extra hexes of attack range, 10% attack speed for units in the back 2 rows. You see this one less often, and honestly, the best composition player of this is Belveth. You could also play like Duelist Zed or like Jax, but I think they're merely okay. Because Jax very situational, so you want to try to either have the Relentless Assault augments, either a good admin, so this is like scaling health, AP per death, scaling AP. You can also go Reverberation and go for Riven 3. So that's the Riven support augment. Well, actually, I don't know, because technically both of Riven's augments are support. I think this one's actually the carry augment, Riven 3 Reverberation. And then if you have a Brawler Crest or Crown, go 8 Brawler and put the Brawler on Soraka and go level 8, play all the Brawlers, and reroll Jax. So that's pretty good. Second one, Belveth. we already went through this, but now Bel'Veth not only gets a little bit of ramping attack speed, or attack speed to help her ramp up, she gets a lot of safety now that she has 2 extra range, and she could dish out a ton damage, heal her own team, infinitely stack, and you probably just go top 4 from there. Okay, I think that's it. I'm reading some of these comments. I don't think any of them are questions, so here we are. So that has been today's masterclass. Just to recap, I guess I'll just go to the intro board. There are 3 that we talked about today: Knife's Edge, Battlemage, Scoped Weapons. If you have Last Whisper or Duelist, take Knife's Edge. Win streak early. Mid game, if you have Lockets, you can continue playing Duelist if you want. If you don't, then swap over to Bel'Veth on level 7. Battlemage, you can play any of these comps. That's basically it. Preferably play Viego. You need Gunblade, you need some sort of magic resist shred, and you need ability crit. Last but not least, Scope Weapons. You're most likely playing Bel'Veth, and yeah, that's about it. All right, are there any questions for today's masterclass? I think it was pretty informative. The next time you see any of these 3 augments, you don't have to be scared, or you don't have to really think too much, because now you know exactly what to do and exactly what comps to play, along with positioning and itemization. So